You are Locked On Dodgers Postcast, part of Locked On Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Woo! We got through it finally. This feels like the postcast after Korea. Actually, a little bit worse because at least at the Korea game, I got to sleep beforehand. Oh, thought that game would never get going, and then I thought it would never end. And what a surprise. Nobody here with me in the comments. It's just me. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is finished. You can also listen to us on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts. I come on after the game and break it down for you. And I'm here. Whether I like it or not, whether I want to be or not, I'm here. Dodgers fall in 10, walk-off home run, 5-4 the final. Tonight's show is brought to you by Monopoly Go. If you are a competitive person and you have that competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly, join your friends and download Monopoly Go now for free at the App Store or Google Play. Again, tonight's show brought to you in part by Monopoly Go. 5-4 the final. Diamondbacks win game 2, rubber game tomorrow. A walk-off home run from Christian Walker. He had 2 on the night. This was a game where you felt like the Diamondbacks were just going to gift it to the Dodgers. Wild Pitch scored the first run for the Dodgers, and then a balk scored the second run in the 6th to make it 2-1, and it was 2-1 right up until the 8th when a Moreno single scored Jock Peterson. Jock Peterson doing in his former mates, but he's a good guy and has been around the league since he left the Dodgers. So he's been in many places. I can't even remember all the teams Jock Peterson's played for. I know it was the Giants for a minute, Cubs for a minute, now Arizona. I feel like there's one more since he left the Dodgers. Craig, good morning, my friend. Just about. Thank you for popping in. I appreciate you. A little different energy tonight, I think. But Jock Peterson scored the tying run in the 8th, and then Dodgers grabbed a 3-2 lead in the 10th on a sacrifice from Will Smith, who had a nice day. And then the Walker home run came up pretty quickly there in the bottom of the 10th with the runner on second. So nice performance for Christian Walker with 2 home runs to win the game for the Diamondbacks, who are now 14-17 at home. 14-17 on the season, 8-7 at home. The Dodgers 19-13 and 10-5 on the road. I've dropped 2 games now on this road trip. They'll wrap up the 9-game roadie tomorrow. Pajes, yes, continuing to hit. And Ohtani, empty calories hitting. I like that. Just looked terrible tonight. I was talking to a buddy of mine who teaches hitting to youngsters, high school age kids, basically. And he was like, because I called him today to talk about something else, but I was like, let me ask you a question here. Because I feel like I know a little bit about hitting. Again, I've taught high school kids before or coached high school. I look at Shohei Ohtani, and I've said this over and over again. When he strikes out, he looks terrible, right? And when he hits the ball, it looks pretty good, but still he's flying out that right hip. And I said to him, is it mind-boggling to you that Ohtani is as good as he is? And he's like, yeah, I don't understand how he hits the ball. Partly because his right hip is so far out. And I guess it's what Japanese people do. It's part of their style. They're constantly flying out, especially when they're left-handed hitters in Japan. I don't know why they do that. It's just something that they're taught probably as little kids, but it's very bizarre. And it is very surprising that he is such an effective hitter with that style. Because even when he hits the ball, he still flies open like that. He doesn't stay through the ball the way that you're supposed to keep for him, the right shoulder in and the right hip in. It all just flies open, and that's not supposed to work, but it does. So maybe Daniel at this point, yeah, he could be. He's definitely up there in the conversation for MVP at this point. But again, long way to go. Let's hope he keeps getting the ball in play, getting on base, and starts producing a little bit more. But it wasn't just him tonight. Everybody let the Dodgers down. All of the offensive guys really let their teammates down, except for, let's say, Will Smith. Will Smith had a solid game, and so did Freddie Freeman. But they just didn't have it offensively. After the B delay, I think they were just all in a funk. I felt like that too. I'm like, oh no, I just lost all my gumption and energy to be a part of this game. And I'm sure the players felt the same way. It was supposed to start at 6:40. I think they got going about 8:30. So just about a 2-hour delay because of a beehive on the net behind home plate. Didn't see how they extricated the bees. I do know that something similar happened at the BNP Paribas Open Tennis Tournament in March. The bees got onto that camera on the wires that floats around over top of the court. So they called a bee guy, he came over there and had a shop vac and sucked up all the bees and I guess took them to a hive or something. I don't know. I'm assuming they did the same thing. Joe Davis was doing his research during the problem, trying to figure out how to rid themselves of the bee. And he said, well, they either smoke them out or suck them up with a shop vac. And I would assume that the smoking them out wasn't going to do anything to get rid of them. So they had to use a shop vac. I know they brought out a scissor lift to get the person up there to do that, and finally got it taken care of. And so I think the rule of thumb, I think we can safely assume now that when there is a bee problem, it's about a 2-hour delay. They were speculating that maybe they just canceled the game altogether or postpone it to another time. And I said, they're not going to do that. It's not that big of a deal, but it's going to take a little while because they got to find somebody. Not everybody wants to just get up there and do it. They have to find a bee guy. Right. So Craig is confirming they did, because they didn't show. How do you know that, Craig? They didn't show it on the feed that I was watching. But yeah, that's what they do. But they had to find the bee guy, on Google probably. Hey, we need a bee guy. Chase Field ASAP. Let's go. You can stay and watch the game after we get rolling. So that's what happened. And they finally got going, and Landon Knack looked good. So that's a positive I think we can take away from this game. And we'll talk about more about the details of the actual game and the performance of Landon Knack. And we are going to get into what in the hell the color of the Arizona Diamondbacks jerseys or uniforms were. I don't know that I've ever seen that color in a jersey before. Those have to be their City Connect uniforms, right? Bizarre to say the least. We'll get into that next. This is the Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. And you can listen to us on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. I am Pete Fox, and thank you so much for staying up late and joining me here. All right, tonight's show is brought to you by DoorDash. Mother's Day is right around the corner, and I'm assuming you want to get something very thoughtful for your mom, but maybe you're not in the neighborhood. Maybe you can't just swing by and grab her something and drop it off. So get on DoorDash and surprise her with something cool, like a fresh bouquet of flowers, some tech, gift cards, self-care treats, and more to make that day even more special for her. Maybe you send her some bath bombs or something cool like that. Maybe you find out what her favorite, maybe some sushi. She might like that. Maybe you send her whatever her favorite food is for the day, along with a bottle of bubbly. Order now and get everything you need for Mother's Day on DoorDash. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get 50% off your next order up to $15 when you spend 15 or more on flowers, convenience, or retail order on DoorDash. That's Locked On MLB. Order DoorDash. Order on DoorDash today. Terms apply. All right, Dodgers fall in 10, 5-4, a walk-off. Got the best of them, and they've now dropped 2 games on this road trip, 4-3 the final. We'll get to the Diamond Dogs list here in a little bit, but first, I'm curious, your thoughts on those jerseys, the Serpientes jerseys. I thought that part was cool. I like the helmets and the snake and all of that, but that color, what was that color? Okay, here are my ideas or options on what that color, banana color. It wasn't banana. We know what the Savannah banana color is, and it wasn't that. It was maybe a banana that had been sitting on the counter a little too long. I might give you that. Or I also went with a gold that's been in the desert sun for too long. So sun faded gold. Like if you had some patio furniture or maybe a car that's been sitting on your driveway in Phoenix, Arizona for like 20 years. And it was gold at some point, and then it became that mellow yellow. Sherry's berries, mellow yellow. The soda, no, it wasn't that bright. You're close. What about buttercream? Like the cookies, the stuff that goes inside of those sandwich cookies. That was my first thought. Buttercream or baby poop or maybe dog vomit. You have a puppy and they eat something like grass and they throw it up. That's what the color it looked like. Or just flat out antique. You know, when you go to paint something and you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or wherever you buy your paint, they have 17 different shades of white or maybe 170 different shades of white. One of them is antique. That's what it looked like. Or Grey Poupon, right? That mustard. But the difference is that Grey Poupon has those little speckles in there. What about Parmesan cheese? We were recently at an Italian restaurant and they had that big wheel of Parm, and then they throw your fettuccine Alfredo into the wheel of Parmesan cheese and they spin it around and then give it back to you, which by the way, I really want to do. But I can't get past the calories. It's so amazing. My wife's daughter's fiance, they just went to a restaurant in Austin and did that. And he said it was amazing. And I said, yeah. And I love to cook Italian food and I want to try it. But first of all, to buy one of those wheels of cheese, you know what they cost? They're like $300 or $400. I'm like, yeah, but it lasts forever. But still, that's a pretty big investment in something that could go bad pretty quickly, I think. And again, the calories that are involved. I love Parmigiano Reggiano, and that's what it is. But I think that could be another description of the color of their jerseys. Parmigiano Reggiano. All right, let's do the Diamond Dogs list for tonight. In at number 5, Freddie Freeman had a double in the 4th to left field. Yes. I loved seeing that. That was so nice. That was a down and away cutter, 1-1, and he just went with it and took it the other way. It was beautiful. For number 4, Will Smith had a double to right center on a 1-1 sinker. Everyone was going 1-1 today. That was pretty common. Will Smith there, the double in the 6th. I believe that knocked in a run for the Dodgers. Will Smith's double in the 6th. No, scored on a balk. So yeah, didn't score a run there. He got the sacrifice. That RBI came on the sacrifice. So nothing to show for that. So they got a lot of empty hits tonight. Number 3, Michael Grove out of the bullpen, got out of a bases loaded jam in the bottom of the 6th. And that was nice to see. I thought the Diamondbacks, the Serpientes, we're going to break it open right there. For number 2 tonight on the bucket list, since there wasn't a ton of offense, I put Max Muncy's defense, because last night he looked good as well. And tonight he made a heck of a play. It just feels like he is stepping it up on D, especially from the arm perspective. He is throwing the ball across the diamond very accurately and aggressively. And that's nice to see. And for number one tonight on the Diamond Dogs list, we're going to throw Landon Knack on there, who they even speculated for a minute was not going to pitch this game because it might have screwed a lot of things up with regard to the rotation. But I think that's ultimately why he did pitch this game. He went 5 innings into the 6th, and the first sign of any problem, they yanked him. It's like he gave up a base hit, and they're like, that's it, you're done. So he went 5 innings, gave up 1 run on 4 hits. He had 1 walk and 2 Ks and the home run. So really, that was the worst pitch. He threw a fastball up in a count that he shouldn't have thrown a fastball up. And what's his name? Walker was just waiting for it. So he just hammered that ball. But other than that, I thought Landon Knack looked good. He continues to have that sort of aggression, that attitude, that game face, that I really like to see in pitchers. I don't want to steal the Bulldog nickname, but it's the only thing I can come up with right now. He feels like he's out there, ready to chew on a bone or something. What is Jim saying? Jim's comment, Outman should have batted against Ginkgo leading off the night. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Outman and Doc. Ever since Pa has started hitting the ball, we haven't seen James Outman. So I don't know. Again, Outman was struggling, but by all accounts, the comments from Dave Roberts were that I'm going to let all these guys at the bottom of the lineup work through it. But we haven't seen James Outman in a minute, right? It's been a few days. So when I was texting with his uncle recently, he was like, yeah, I think they're going to send him down. And I'm like, I don't know about all that, but I wouldn't be surprised at this point if Jay Hay comes back. James might be the guy that goes down. I don't know. He's starting to come out of it. Maybe it's just because when he strikes out, it looks so bad, but he's been putting the ball in play. He's been making good contact. It's no worse than what we're seeing from Chris Taylor or Gavin Lux. So, maybe Chris Taylor is just getting the benefit of the doubt because of his seniority with the team, that Dave Roberts just feels to a certain extent he's a veteran and he owes him something. I don't know. I really hope that it's got to be a little frustrating for James Outman because he can't get out of a slump if you're sitting on the bench. So it goes from being starting center fielder last year, start of this season, to riding the pine. I mean, that's an unfortunate hop. Gavin Lux was a pinch hitter tonight. Scored a run in 2 at-bats. Ofer is average at 182. Pajes up to 300. It's hard to argue, right? You can't take him out of the game. When I see Andy Pajes at the plate, I don't love his swing. I think it's going to break down sooner before later. I'm not wishing that by any stretch, but his string is too long. He doesn't shorten it up. Once the league starts to realize that and know a little bit more about him, they're going to, work into that. And it's not going to work well for Andy Pajes. He's going to have to evolve as a hitter to a certain extent. Maybe that's what James Outman's going through. He doesn't shorten up either. So this is something that young hitters do. They have one swing and that's that. They don't really adjust it. They don't change it. They don't screw with it. This is what I do. The way Pajes drops that right shoulder down and everything is launch angle, upward swing. It's not good for getting base hits, but it's working now and good for him. I mean, his average over the last 4 or 5 games is like 400, knocking in runs. He's doing everything very, very well right now. So I hope he continues. I hope he figures out a way to evolve and grow and become a little bit more dynamic as a hitter, but it doesn't happen. He doesn't have that sort of Will Smith, Mookie Betts compact swing where it's tough to get him out. It's tough to get the ball by them because they're so aware of the strike zone and their swing is so compact and quick to the ball. Pajes is the exact opposite of that. Not quick to the ball at all, although he's a big, strong kid and he swings the bat like a madman, and that's what's working for him right now. This is a good question, Craig. Why didn't Phillips close? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question. Maybe they had him on rest for today. Last time we saw Crismatt, he looked good. Did not look good tonight. Gave up a home run. Suffers the loss. He's now 1-1, but his ERA still looks pretty good. 2.25. He gave up 1 earned, 2 total on 1 hit. So not his night. Hudson was a little rough and bumpy as well. Did not take care of business the way he did last night. 1 run on 3 hits, 18 pitches in that frame. Joe Kelly looked good. Zeros across the board, as well as Michael Grove, who made it to the bucket list. Joe Kelly, I believe now 9 times in 10 games, because they threw this stat out there 8 times in 9 games before he'd finished his frame, that he'd given up zeros. So he's got it going. There was a minute there where we were a little worried, like what's up with him, because he threw that ball over to first base and kind of was acting like he tweaked his back a little bit. But fortunately, he was fine and looks good, and hopefully he'll continue to dominate the way he has been over the last 10 games now. So good for him. Dodgers fall 4-3. They're now 19-13 and 10-5 away from Dodger Stadium. And they've dropped 2 games on this road trip. So that means they've played 8 games. They're 6 up and 2 down on this road trip, which is nothing to complain about. I'm Pete Fox. This is the Locked On Dodgers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, place to hang out when every game is done. And you can listen to us on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed, where, of course, you will always be able to hear Jeff and Vince with the Locked On Dodgers podcast. I'm sure they're up late doing it right now as well, and it'll be ready for you tomorrow morning. So be sure you check that out. They will be there breaking this down and telling you what's going on in the world of Dodger baseball, just like I do. I come on after the game and kind of break the game down, and they talk about the state of the team on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, and they will continue to do that alongside of me here with the podcast. Or the postcast. We got the postcast after the game and the podcast Monday through Friday for you big time hardcore fans. You know, we give you lots of different angles here on the team. So we're happy to do that. Thank you for joining me here. One more break and we'll come back and wrap this thing up. Dodgers fall 4-3-10 to the Diamondbacks. Rubber game tomorrow night. All right, tonight's show brought to you by FanDuel. As you know, it's playoff time in the NBA and, of course, in the NHL. The Kings with a do-or-die game against the Edmonton Oilers tomorrow. Baseball, of course, in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to goals to assists, time on the ice, hits. They have a huge variety of options. Baseball, the same sort of thing. Total bases, home runs, strikeouts. Basketball, you can bet on points, assists, points and assists together, slam dunks. It's all available for you on the app, and it's safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, we have not gotten to the Ohtani ticker yet. Let's see what Ohtani did from at bat to at bat. Not a great night, but it wasn't terrible. Got a base hit. Average at 336, on base percentage 399, and his slugging is 618. So where do we find that? I didn't write it down. I was lazy tonight. Just totally lazy. I was like, I found it before in the stats where I could just look at Ohtani. It told me every at bat. His single to center was in the first. And then in the third, he didn't bat. In the fourth, he struck out looking. In the fifth, And see, this is not working out good. He struck out swinging, 2 Ks for Ohtani. And then his last at bat was in the 7th, struck out 3 Ks, the hat trick. Ooh, yuck. So not a good day, but again, got a base hit. So it's one of those things where it's hard to criticize a guy. I think, how many games in a row is that now? I mean, Freddie Freeman's got his hitting streak up to 10 in a row. We're still kind of thinking that he's struggling a little bit. Of course, he's getting better, feeling better about it, because when he's going the other way, he feels more comfortable. But Ohtani, 3 Ks, 1 hit in 5 at bats. So not spectacular, but it's better than an offer, right? It's not one of those things where you feel like it's terrible. I guess, again, it all boils down to the expectations and how high they are for him in this season with the Dodgers, kicking off this big, huge contract for them. The thing about the Dodgers tonight that really kind of left me wanting more was the amount of runners that were stranded, runners in scoring position. Again, 1 for 11 tonight. They had a threat with Muncy walked. Pajes had a single. They had a failed sac bunt from Miggy. He bunted it too hard to the pitcher, who got it to third base. So that was unfortunate. Then Mookie walked. Ohtani struck out. Then the run came on the wild pitch, and then Freddie Freeman flied to center field, which was, left you empty. They did that a couple of times where they had runners on base, and you were thinking, all right, here we go. We're going to start rolling here, and nothing came of it. So other than the balk, which scored a run, and the wild pitch, and it really felt like the Arizona Diamondbacks in their buttercream, Grey Poupon, baby poop uniforms were doing everything in their power to gift wrap this one for the Dodgers. But in the end, it was a home run in the 10th from Christian Walker, his second on the night, to get the Dodgers into a situation tomorrow where it is a rubber game. Diamondbacks win 1 and will not be swept in this series. They get the walk-off, and that had to feel good for them and unfortunate for us. The Dodgers come away empty on this one, 4-3, but it kind of felt like they didn't necessarily deserve it. I feel like the bullpen did enough, but the bats just weren't swinging it tonight. They weren't producing the way that they have been of late, and that is bound to happen. You can't keep that up night after night after night, especially when you have that delay in the beginning of the game. It just had to throw them off, and it was probably hard for both teams to get into this one, really, because they didn't do anything for the first 3 or 4 innings. So it's not surprising. Hopefully everything goes as planned tomorrow. They'll wrap this one up and then head back home. Another 6:40 start for the rubber game of this series. Yoshinobu Yamamoto will take on Zach Gallen. And of course, I will be here right after the game to break it down for you one more time. Dodgers fall 4-3 in 10 and are now 19-13, 10-5 on the road. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for the comments. Enjoy the rest of your night. Hopefully you are heading to bed like I am in mere moments. But again, thanks for staying up. This is the Locked On Dodgers podcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. And of course, you can listen to us on the Locked On Dodgers podcast feed. Have a good night. We will talk tomorrow.